What if I told you that the emojis you use on your phone every single day are actually thousands of years old? I mean, really think about it. Long before we had screens, human beings were desperate to do the exact same things we do today, you know? Share stories, flex our social status, and leave a mark that basically says, "Hey, I was here." Welcome to This Explainer. Today, I'm taking you on a fast-paced museum tour tracing the wild, mind-bending evolution of Indian art. We're going to decode the secret technologies behind prehistoric rave walls, optical illusions carved right into solid stone, and masterpieces that cost millions today. So let's dive into this.
But hey, before we drop the very first historical fact of our tour, I've got a challenge for you. Pause This Explainer right now and drop a comment answering the question you're looking at. If you could paint a mural on your bedroom wall today that would perfectly survive for 10,000 years, what would you draw? Are we talking a portrait of your pet, a meme, your family? Drop your answer in the comments to kick off our interactive journey.
All right, here is our tour itinerary for today. The first cave canvas, Harappan bronze secrets, Ajanta's 3D illusions, Mughal miniature tech, and Raja Ravi Varma's revolution. Let's start the clock. We're visually mapping out a massive 10,000-year timeline today. We'll be zooming from the prehistoric rock shelters of 10,000 BCE, moving straight through the Bronze Age of the Indus Valley, diving deep into the caves of Ajanta, marveling at medieval Mughal opulence, and finally arriving at the 19th century printing press. It's a huge journey, so let's jump right into our first stop.
Chapter 1. The First Cave Canvas.
So imagine stepping into a dark, mysterious rock shelter in Bhimbetka, located in modern-day Madhya Pradesh. As your eyes kind of adjust to the dark, you look at the walls and see these incredibly vibrant red and white figures. They're dancing, they're hunting, riding animals. This wasn't just random prehistoric doodling, guys. This was literally the original social media feed. And what's really fascinating here is the sheer chemistry behind these paintings. I mean, how did they survive 10,000 years of brutal climate conditions, ice and heavy monsoon rains? Well, the secret is organic binders. These ancient artists were brilliant chemists. They mixed natural, earthy minerals with animal fat. And that specific chemical composition created a highly durable, weather-resistant paint that permanently bonded to the rock face. Absolutely incredible.
All right, students, it's time to test your knowledge with our first interactive quiz. Can you lock in the right answer? What specific ingredient did these early humans mix with natural minerals to make their paint survive 10,000 years? Was it A, B, or C? Well, if you guessed B, animal fat, you are completely correct. That organic binder was the ultimate prehistoric weatherproofing. Chapter 2. Harappan Bronze Secrets. Now we're jumping forward 7,500 years to 2,500 BCE. The Indus Valley civilization just gave Indian art a massive, and I mean massive, technological upgrade. These folks were the master minimalists of the ancient world. So instead of creating giant, immovable art on cave walls, they began manufacturing art you could hold right in the palm of your hand. And this brilliantly illustrates their absolute genius, the lost wax technique. This wasn't just carving. This was an advanced metallurgical casting process used to sculpt highly detailed bronze figures. The fact that the Harappans figured out this complex metal craftsmanship process over 4,000 years ago is just mind-blowing. Actually, it's so scientifically sound that we still use variations of this exact manufacturing process in modern factories today.
To really understand this shift in cultural values, just think about the contrast here. You have the traditional priest-king carved in stone. It's rigid, it's intimidating, basically a classic symbol of ancient authority. But then you have the famous bronze dancing girl. She is barely 4 inches tall, but look at that confident posture. She's covered in bangles, with her hand resting casually on her hip. She isn't posing for some terrifying god or a tyrannical king. She is posing for us, the viewer. It's an incredibly modern, relatable attitude, all cast in ancient bronze.
Okay, time for quiz level 2. Let's see if you were paying attention to the manufacturing tech we just talked about. Which advanced metallurgical process did the Harappans use to create the tiny, highly detailed dancing girl? Lock it in. And the answer is A, the lost wax technique. Great job if you got that one right.
Chapter 3: Ajanta's 3D Illusions.
So now we're leaving those bustling ancient cities and heading deep into the horseshoe-shaped cliffs of Maharashtra. Here, incredibly dedicated Buddhist monks were doing the impossible, chiseling entire, glowing monasteries straight out of the solid rock cliffs. Welcome to Ajanta. You know, if you ever thought the European Renaissance was the first time artists mastered depth and emotion, well, the artists at Ajanta are here to say, hold my paintbrush. Just look closely at this mural of the Bodhisattva Padmapani. Do you see the subtle shading on the nose and the eyelids? These monks were literally pioneering optical illusions. They applied complex shading techniques to create breathtaking 3D depth on a flat cave wall thousands of years before the Renaissance was even a thing. But the absolute craziest part of this story? It's the climate conditions of the caves themselves. They were pitch black. Seriously, how do you paint a 3D masterpiece in the dark? Well, these brilliant artists relied solely on the flickering light of oil lamps, and they strategically placed large metal mirrors outside the caves to catch the sunlight and bounce it deep into the dark corridors. They literally painted with reflected light. How cool is that?
All right, get ready for level 3. How did these artistic monks manipulate the lighting conditions to paint highly detailed 3D illusions inside completely dark caves? Tell me your answer. If you picked C, oil lamps and metal mirrors, you are absolutely crushing this tour.
Chapter 4: Mughal Miniature Tack.
By the medieval era, the artistic landscape completely shifts from quiet, dark religious caves to loud, grand, incredibly wealthy royal courts. The Mughal and Rajput kings didn't just want art. They wanted microscopic opulence. They wanted to cram an entire universe of wealth into a space roughly the size of a modern iPad. Imagine zooming in on a tiny leaf in a miniature painting, right? You can see individual veins on a leaf that is barely a millimeter wide. How in the world did they achieve this insane, almost impossible level of detail? Well, their tool of the trade was a brush made from a single hair plucked from a squirrel's tail. A single hair. The hand-eye coordination required for this is just staggering. And what exactly were they painting with using that single squirrel hair? Well, the Mughals wanted the ultimate medieval flex. They didn't just use dirt and fat like our caveman friends. No, they ground up insanely rare, luxury natural minerals. We are talking about pure, real gold, crushed natural pearls, and lapis lazuli. The very chemical makeup of these paintings was a massive statement of staggering royal wealth. Let's test your memory on medieval royal flexing. Look at quiz level 4. What incredibly expensive, rare natural mineral was ground up to create those vibrant blue pigments you see in Mughal miniatures? Was it A, B, or C? If you locked in B, lapis lazuli, you nailed it.
Chapter 5: Raja Ravi Varma's Revolution.
Okay, so now British colonization has swept the subcontinent, sparking a massive cultural identity crisis. British critics were out there claiming that traditional Indian artistic styles lacked proper anatomical realism and perspective. But then, one artistic rebel stepped up and completely changed the game. His name was Raja Ravi Varma. He pulled off the ultimate artistic rebellion by creating this brilliant fusion. On one hand, you have the dramatic lighting, sharp anatomical realism, and the rich oil-on-canvas textures of European painting. And on the other, the heart and soul of traditional Indian mythology. Varma merged them. Suddenly, ancient gods and goddesses weren't distant stone statues anymore. They looked like real, breathing human beings illuminated by cinematic light. But you know what? Varma's true genius wasn't just on the canvas. It was actually in his business model. He didn't just want to paint single masterpieces for royals to lock away in their palaces. He wanted to democratize Indian art. So he adopted oil realism, but then he set up a mechanical printing press. By mass-producing his mythological paintings as affordable posters, he ensured that for the very first time in history, ordinary, everyday people could actually afford to own breathtaking art right in their own homes.
Here is your final technical quiz of the explainer. What specific technological innovation did Raja Ravi Varma use to democratize his art and get it out of royal palaces and into the hands of ordinary people? If you selected B, setting up a printing press, congratulations, you have officially aced our 10,000-year history test.
So think about a 10,000-year-old rock wall painted with animal fat and red dirt compared to a glowing, modern digital illustration on a sleek smartphone screen. The tools have evolved from organic binders to digital pixels for sure, but the core human desire, it hasn't changed a bit. Art has always functioned as a mirror, reflecting our shifting cultural values, our technological progress, and fundamentally, who we are as humans just trying to tell our stories.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final debate. We've seen prehistoric caves, the bronze-casting Indus Valley minimalists, the 3D painting monks of Ajanta, and the ultra-wealthy Mughal miniature artists. If you had to pick just one of these historical eras to live and create art, which one are you choosing? Drop your choice in the comments below right now. Let's keep this interactive quiz going long after this explainer ends. I can't wait to read your answers. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next one.